Hi, everybody. Welcome. Matthew here with MEB Golf. Another episode of the podcast here about to start. I'm going to dive into some Open, some PGA talk. And of course, I do have a special guest today. Looking forward to talking with him later on in the episode, and we'll get into that later. But to start off my episode, as always, I'm going to do my birdie and my double bogey. The birdie, I was able to get out and play around golf at the Trump Doral course. Really neat, of course, beautiful day, very hot. But I was able to implement the cart cam in the golf cart and on the course, of course. Um, so I was able to kind of figure out what the do's and don'ts. If you haven't seen it on YouTube already, I highly recommend watching. Not perfect, but it's definitely some progression, which is really awesome. Um, Double bogey. I forgot my mic, so if you do watch the video, you will be able to see. You won't be able to hear me from when I'm all the way on the other side of the green, putting or whatever it is. But eventually, that's an easy fix. I can go in there and make a little list of what I need before I leave for the golf course or whatever it is. I'll definitely work on getting better at that. But I did learn a ton of editing stuff. I learned a bunch of little things that I need to do while editing. It's some little shortcuts, which is kind of ideal if you are editing, I think. Um, but those are kind of my birdie and double bogey. We'll hop in a little bit of the Open. Scottie Scheffler wins in dominant fashion. His fifth career major, three. He's got three of the four majors. All he has to do is win the U.S. Open. I believe the schedule is already out for the U.S. Open next year. That Sunday will be his birthday, so he could win the Grand Slam on his birthday, which would be really neat. With the way he's playing, I don't see how he can't not win. He's dominant, incredible, Tiger Woods-esque. I know people might give me a little pushback on that, but I mean, look at the guy. He's doing just as, he's just does no one can compare to him in the field, kind of like Tiger back in the day. Um, so it was funny watching the broadcast. I wasn't able to watch it live, but I did go back and watch it. You would see, normally it follows the leader. Scottie Scheffler was leading in dominant fashion. They would take a shot of Scottie Scheffler hitting the ball under the green in the 15th hole. And then it would just pan off into like Rory McIlroy because he's the hometown kid, Ireland kid. And they would talk about his story or the guy from China, Lee, kind of his story about how he got there. Normally it focuses on the leader. I think with this tournament being so dominated by Scottie Scheffler, I just think they already had it lined up what was going to happen. And so congratulations to Scottie, Meredith, and Bennett. It was really neat to see them, of course, hoist another trophy. Um, I know Scottie's getting a little crap online from other people in the media saying that the winning majors or tournaments doesn't fulfill him. That's not what he plays golf for, and blah blah blah, whatever he said. I can't, I'm paraphrasing that, but my take on it, it's like at the end of the day, you accomplish something and it goes away immediately. And I get what Scotty's saying because he goes home, you know, later that night with Meredith, his wife, and Bennett, his child, and that trophy he won, the millions of dollars he won, that doesn't matter. I think that what he was more or less referring to is the only things that matter in life are his wife and kids and family and stuff. So I think that's like an important part of his life. Some golfers might not look at it that way. I know, and I'm not saying Rory thinks this way, but that guy lives, breathes, drinks, and eats the game of golf. Tiger Woods was the same. That's why he's had so many, instances of, whatever he went through, um, but with injury and everything. So Scotty, I think, kind of takes care of himself a little better than some of these other guys. I know they all take great care of themselves physically, but the mental aspect, I think Scotty's got a upper hand on a lot of them just because he is so focused more. He's not always focused on the game of golf. He has, that life outside of it. And the talent, of course, helps. Guys like Tony Finau is another example of a family man. He's got all his kids, his wife, that pays all. That's all he cares about. He goes and plays his golf. He might not win like Scotty does, but after the tournament's over, he goes and spends it with his wife and kids. MLB baseball is back in business. A nice little All-Star break. Cardinals unfortunately came off the All-Star break with getting swept by the Diamondbacks, which puts them in third place in the Central. I believe now they're about 3.5 games out of the wild card. There's still room to come back. A lot of games left. There's talks of trading Ryan Helsley. I know teams like the Mets might need him, or the Cubbies might need him, or the Tigers might need him. So we could be seeing Ryan Helsley on the back burner and sent to another team. But we'll see about that. Um, but with that being said, I got, like I said, a little bit of baseball, a little bit of golf, birdie and double bogey. I do want to dive in and get to my guest. Super excited to hear what he has to say. Um, so we're gonna dive right into that, right, Meow?
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Well, welcome. Matthew here with MEB Golf. I'm super happy and excited to have Marco on from the Scratch Golf Show. So if you haven't heard of him, or you want some insights on YouTube golf or whatever it is, he's like my NBC News for YouTube golf. I listen to what he has to say, and that's where I get where I learn all my information from. So I want you to introduce yourself, kind of more or less. Where are you from? How'd you get into the YouTube creating world? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, first of all, Matthew, thank you so much for having me on your show. This is like my first podcast that I've been on. I've done like some other live stuff, but no one's ever actually wanted to interview me. So thank you so much for having me on and reaching out. I love doing podcasting. Obviously, I kind of do my own thing, as you just mentioned, with the Scratch Golf Show. But so thank you so much for having me. If you guys are listening on Spotify, YouTube, drop Matthew a sub, review, whatever helps you get up there. So thank you so much for having me, man. But yeah, my name is Marco Quinto. As you just mentioned, I do the YouTube channel, podcast, whatever you want to call it, called the Scratch Golf Show. I really only post on YouTube. I have a Spotify, but I don't really post stuff on there just because I post some stuff. My schedule is crazy with the YouTube stuff, so I'm always trying to post, and so I just kind of got away from the Spotify. But I post only on YouTube. Started doing it last April. Masters Week was my first presence on the internet. YouTube. I had a golf Instagram that had like a couple hundred followers that I would post like some swing stuff on, but nothing super crazy. And yeah, I'm from the Metro Detroit area. I live near Ann Arbor with my wife, two dogs. And I've been born and raised kind of about 20 minutes. I live right now about 20 minutes where I was born and raised, with my parents, who, shout out mom and dad. If you guys see this, love you guys. Biggest supporters are my parents. So I know you just had your dad on last week. So shout out to them. My parents watch all my stuff. And yeah, I've been here almost in Michigan my whole life. Went to school at Michigan State, graduated from Western Michigan, bounced around in Chicago for a little bit before coming back to Michigan, meeting my wife where I live now. And yeah, man, the YouTube stuff, I always wanted to do it. I'm a big YouTube guy. I've been into YouTube forever, since I was a kid. I'm 31 now. But since I was like literally in high school, first it was Call of Duty, then into Fortnite, now into kind of YouTube golf. I've always been fascinated by it. And I'm a huge golfer. So I love golf. I'm a scratch golfer, hence the name, the Scratch Golf Show. It's my favorite thing to do. My dad got me into it. And so when those paths kind of crossed, YouTube golf, YouTube, pro golf, whatever, it just kind of fell in love with it. And I always thought about doing it. I think similar to most people who saw good or kind of the rise in YouTube golf during COVID, probably got into sparked a lot of people to get into it, but just never wanted to do it because you didn't want to. It's commitment. It's a lot of work for no reward, almost for a very long time. And so I've always wanted to do it. Finally, my wife told me, and can I curse? Is that
Oh
okay?
yeah, yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I always tell people this story. Like my wife, also a huge supporter of mine. My wife and my parents always watch my stuff, but I would always talk her ear off. And finally, she told me, she's like, just shut the fuck up and do it already. And so I literally did that. I started going live. I started doing like a Pat McAfee style live talk show. Pat McAfee is kind of, I don't want to say my inspiration of starting it, but I just see how Pat built his own YouTube channel. And now he's on ESPN. And it's like, no one's really doing that for golf. And so I was just like, screw it, I'm going to do it. Have had some different variations of the content I've done. Started with live shows, into interviews with caddies, and then into the YouTubers. These last 6 months, have, I guess 9 months now, have really taken off with the YouTube interviews, and then started doing YouTube golf news, like you said a few months ago, and it's just been a great change of pace for my content. It's you get burnt out pretty easily, so you always kind of got to figure out stuff to make sure you don't get burnt out. But yeah, man, that's kind of me. Long story short, I like to ramble, so if we ramble throughout this podcast, I apologize. This is my
It's,
fault, not Matthew's. But
no,
yeah,
I
I hope
think
that answered your question. Hope that
yeah,
answered your question.
you're a better talker than I am, and like you said, you speaking of fields, you said you're jumping into this field. I want to get into the Internet Invitational. It's at Big Cedar Lodge. I'm actually originally from Missouri. Never kind of, it wasn't even really a resort style course back when I lived there. I'm based in Miami now, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. for the thoughts on what are your thoughts on the field? And do you know anything about the format or what's going on with that?
So yeah, I do not know anything about the format. Ironically enough, I've had Wesley Bryan on last
Yeah,
week,
I saw that.
and I asked him, and he couldn't give me anything. So
Wow.
I tried to get him live, and so I don't know anything about the format. I know it's obviously for $1 million purse, right? And we got to
Mhm.
imagine it's going to be handicapped. Would be my guesses. I think Matt Sharf is playing, right? I'm supposed to be interviewing him
I believe so.
tomorrow
Yeah.
evening.
Try to
So I'm
weasel it out of
supposed
him.
yeah. So maybe I'll see if I can get some stuff for you tomorrow. Maybe I'll send you a message if you, I don't know when this is going live, but I'll send you some stuff if I hear anything more. But as far as the format, I don't really know. I am very excited. I think for a long time we've seen kind of the rise in YouTube golf with just how many people are getting into it and just the not just the volume, but just the level of content that's being pushed out with like Grant, good Brian. I mean, you name it. The top people are doing so much stuff. So, but we've seen all that intermingle with the pro side, and we've seen these creator events, duels, etc., stuff like that. And now I think we're finally seeing a creator event that's only going to be creators, run by creators, organized by creators. Like you mentioned at Big Cedar Lodge, never been one of my dream courses, heard nothing but good things. Um, but I think we're seeing all that. So I am very excited to see how it's run. I know it's going to be a multiple time event. I don't think this is going to be a one time thing. I know Dave and Bob Does Sports have spun off their own company to create an internet invitational that I think has been confirmed. So it is going to be cool. I think the first time, I think we're in a stage where people like to criticize, and I'm sure this is going to get a lot of criticism, similar
Oh,
to what we
absolutely.
saw from the field. And I'll give my thoughts on that here in a minute. But I think at the end of the day, like Dave and Bob, I don't know who's putting up the millie, if it's half and half, whatever, but they're putting up $1 million of their own money, spending a lot of money to get all these people. And I don't think people realize how hard it is to get 50 of the biggest creators in one spot with how much scheduling that takes. So the fact that they were able to put all this together within, whatever, a year, like I think it's super impressive. So I am very excited. I don't know. I'm curious to see where, like, how it's going to be presented, if it's going to be only on YouTube. Barstool just signed with Fox. So I don't know. And unless you've heard anything different than me, but curious to see where it's going to be broadcasted. But as far as the field, I think it's good. I mean, obviously, I think we've seen a lot of criticism. I wish there was a few more women. I think with the rise of female creators that we've had in the last year or two, I'm not doing my own thing now. I don't have as much time to watch as much YouTube content as I'd like, so I wish I was more versed in that type of just be ability to view as much content as I'd like as I used to be. But I think we could see more women. But at the end of the day, like like I said, I'm not putting up the millie. We're not putting up the millie. We can be critical at the end of the day. But the field itself, I think, is great. Other than I think there's a couple key misses. I think we could have had, like I said, a few more females. But other than that, man, like I said, we're not $1 million. I am excited to see it though. How about you?
Oh,
What are your thoughts on everything?
yeah, absolutely. Like I've heard all the criticism that they're not Dave and Portnoy and Bob to start sports aren't putting enough women in the thing. Missing out on the golf girl games like Sabrina and that group, Alexis and I heard there's a bunch of drama going on between
Yeah.
those. So I don't know. That possibly might have something to do with it. I'm sure if Dave did know about this drama, he might want to throw that in there to spike the numbers because the viewers want drama. They want
Yeah, that's true.
people like the little banter back and forth between that's why some of these channels are so good. That's why Bob Does Sports is so relatable because I like going out there with the buddies and banting back and forth between each other. And I'm sure that if that's a real thing going on between Alexis and Sabrina and that's what we want. That's what the people want. And I think that would be maybe a good idea to have them all in there. But at the end of the day, it's $1 million of not my money. So who's to
Yeah.
criticize who? And no, but I'm really looking forward to seeing like John Gruden playing it. We've only had a little
Yeah.
tidbit with foreplay to put him in the thing. I know he played with Jerry, Frankie, and Trent down in Tampa on a series for a little bit. And then this guy, the Duke. I don't know who. I mean, I know
Yeah.
Bob found him somewhere, and the guy just looks like pure entertainment. And I'm excited to see the Duke. I'm really like high on watching him. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen what Grant can do. We've seen what the Bryan Bros can do. We've seen what Bob and Foreplay and Good and all those guys can do. I haven't seen much of the Duke, and I'm really looking forward to watching what the Duke can do.
Yeah, I feel that. I actually am a big John Gruden guy. So like I'm a big
Oh,
football guy.
yeah, yeah,
Like I
yeah.
said, I'm here in Detroit, so a lot, lines through and through all Detroit teams really. I'm not a huge NBA guy just because just I don't like watching basketball, but Lions through and through. So I love John Gruden does like really good NFL content, like where he does like NFL breakdowns. That's the kind of stuff I watch in the wintertime for football season. But it's cool to see him at Barstool getting more involved in golf. I think he's hilarious. Personally, I think so. I'm excited to see him. The one I will say the one miss I think is I don't know how into Barstool you are, but Kirk Menahan, man, that dude.
Well,
I feel like that was a big time miss.
He might have killed somebody out there though. So probably,
know.
for safety reasons, we needed to keep him away. But
yeah, no.
so,
But other than that, I'm excited to see it, and I'm assuming we'll know more. I mean, we're less than a month out. I mean, like 3 weeks out. Like it's kind of crazy. We're already in the end of July. We're coming here into mid-August. It'll be there in a blink of an eye. But I'm assuming we'll know more. And if I ever hear anything, obviously, like I said, I'll put a video out. But I have not heard anything yet. So unfortunately, don't have any news scoops for you. But it's cool like doing this and reaching out to people. But one thing I don't like doing is like actually kind of reaching out to the and bothering people. That's just not my type of thing. But no, if I hear of anything, I'm sure we'll hear something soon. So anyway, but I'm excited for the event. So
absolutely. But and now I'm just going to kind of touch up on it. You just recently signed with Takomo. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an incredible feat, more or less, especially in our industry or whatever you want to call this. I guess you've obviously, I've seen you got some new irons sent to you, and it's been, a thrill. I guess more or less, I've never been able to hit some Tacoma irons yet. I'm over here hitting the Cobra King Tech X irons, which are great for me, but what is like the big difference between your TaylorMade Callaways, Cobras, Titleist? What is the biggest difference you've noticed, I guess?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, great question. First of all, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a huge accomplishment for me, growing the channel from really these last 5 months has really taken off. I hit 1,000 subscribers end of March, and July, they were recording this, I had 6,000. So the last few months have really taken off. So thank you so much, because that was a huge accomplishment for me, getting kind of my first official brand deal with a really reputable company like Takomo. But yeah, I love them. I was a bit, and I think what most people I think are worried about, that they don't hit them. And I'm sure you're a golfer. Like, I'm not a huge equipment guy, but I really love my old Titleist. I had T100S's, which are kind of over here in the left corner of the room, that I loved. I've been gaming them since 2020. I was never going to get new irons, like unless I got like signed, because I love my irons that much. And I played them for 5 years. Love them. They feel great. I've always been a Titleist iron guy. My last like 4 sets before that were Titleist. Going back to like high school, I had 716 AP2, 712 blades, and then 710 CBs. So going back like 12 years, I'd played Titleist irons. And literally I hit one bucket with my new 301 Takomo CBs, and I put them in play. They feel really, really good. I noticed they feel a bit softer. They're a little more forgiving. But for me, I noticed that the spin number actually went down a little bit, which is kind of crazy. And I'm not like huge into like the equipment and the technology side. Like, I know what works for me, but I'm not like, I couldn't tell you like, the specs of anything. Like, that's too technical for me. But I love them. The thing I noticed, like I said, is one, they're cheaper. That alone is you're getting a very premium quality product for a half the price. So that alone is very, very intriguing in itself. But I seriously, I love them. Like, I literally put them in play after one range bucket. They're 2 degrees weaker, which ironically enough, I was also worried about. So the T100S's are 2 degrees strong in my old irons. The new ones I got were 2 degrees weaker, which I was a little worried about, because I worried I would lose like a half club distance. However, Takomo did hook me up with the heavier shaft, so they got me the C-Taper 130X. I was playing Project X 6.5s, and I think they're a little heavier. I think they're like 10 grams heavier. Like I said, don't quote me on that. But my ball flight is actually more piercing. I hit a very high ball. I have a pretty high ball swing speed, so I naturally just spin it more. But with these, even though it's still high, but it's penetrating. So, and that's more of just the iron in itself. Maybe a little hotter face, just because it's newer technology, my old ones I had for 5 years, but I love them. They feel really good. And like I said, they're half the price. And a lot of these guys, like, I know obviously Wesley Bryan and the Bryan Bros are owners, but I mean, Wesley's a tour player. Like, he wouldn't play a club if he didn't feel like he was getting a quality product. So I think that speaks highly. They just sent me a set of their new SFO2 wedges, which I just put into play for my 46 and 50. Those are great. I played yesterday, hitting some wedges, and I love the new wedges that they just came out, the full face technology. If you haven't seen the full grooves, it's great. I actually have one, but they have the full face on it.
Oh yeah.
Got some dirt in there, and so that actually looking down, that really helps. So the SFO2s, I have them in the, so I go, my bag is weird. I go 4 iron, that's like a little thicker. Then I go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the 301 CBs. And then I have the SFO2 and the 46, which is my pitching wedge, and then 50, same thing. And then I have 256 and 60, which are my old wedges. I'm still gaming. They sent me some other SFO2 wedges for those. I just haven't put them in play yet. So they're great clubs. I love them. Highly recommend. Takomos it's awesome, and they've been great to work with behind the scenes. Obviously just had Wes on, have worked with their creators as well with them behind the scenes, and they're super cool, and they've treated me really well. So nothing but good things to say about them and the equipment. I really do love them. Like I said, I wouldn't play something if I didn't like it. And like I said, put them in play after literally one range bucket. So, and I haven't lost any yardage. So they're awesome. Highly recommend.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Again, congratulations. I know
Thank you.
You said the Wesley Bryan effect kind of helping grow that channel.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome to see. And I wish you the future best of luck, and keep going, keep grinding, So
you too, man. I've seen your stuff. So guys, shout out if you are listening to this, make sure you drop Matthew a sub. It's MEB Golf, right? It's your YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Drop him a sub, dude. I really like what you're doing on your short form content with your Instagram stuff.
Pumping them out twice a day.
Yeah, dude, it's really cool. I meant to give you a compliment before we started recording, so but I really like what you're doing on Instagram, because short form content, man, is brutal. I hate doing it. As you know, I'm doing that putting stuff. I'm trying to do that more consistently. But so props to you for grounding out, man. I really like what you're doing. Your editing is pretty good. At least I'm a novice from the editing perspective, but man, you do some really good short form content. So follow Matthew, drop him a sub, and like I said, hopefully we can pick up some subs, and hopefully people are interested in what I'm having to say, because like I said, you do a really good job what you're doing on your podcast and channel as well.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just got one more thing. So I don't know if you know exactly what I'm doing here with this. My goal with the whole YouTube golf channel and everything is more or less to build a network of golfers around the United States, maybe around the globe, to kind of get to know where everyone's from. Obviously, you're from the Detroit area. I'm trying to play a round of golf in all 50 states. And then kind of vlog along the way, and kind of, I've seen, obviously Mason Nutt did it from Bussa Jack. But since you are from the Detroit, Michigan area, I would like to hear some course recommendations, must play courses, must eat restaurants. I'm going to try to catch a Tigers game when I head up there one of these days. I'm a big baseball fan too. So,
okay.
And I would say I would love to go to a Lions game, but, golf in the winter is probably not, in Detroit is probably not the best scene,
Yeah, no,
down here in Miami, I'd be okay, but
yeah, it's rough. Maybe I'll come visit you in the wintertime. We can play golf in Miami.
Absolutely,
so are you looking for like course recommendations specifically in Detroit? Because there's a ton really good courses in northern Michigan.
I've done my I guess my research more or less, but if I'm staying in the city of Detroit to catch a ball game, restaurants I want to eat at, and or restaurant recommendations, and then go to obviously a golf course within like an hour and a half.
Yeah. For sure. There's a ton of great golf courses in the Metro Detroit area. I mean, Metro Detroit has, like, Detroit in general has Michigan itself, has a really good golf presence, but Metro Detroit obviously is the most populated area in kind of the Southeast Michigan. But there's a ton of great golf courses. I would say restaurant recommendations, I might not be your best guy. What kind of food are you looking for? I'm big on Mexican food. Mexican food, yeah. So Mexican food anywhere in Mexican Town is pretty good. So Mexican Town is kind of like, it's a little neighborhood in Detroit. They have some really, really good restaurants. Bookies is a really good spot to go before a Tigers game. It's like right around the corner from Comerica. They do like a really good burger. It's like a limited menu for the Tigers game. So it's like a really good burger. It's a good beer spot to just hang out, tailgate before the game. Oh man, restaurants. What else? I mainly find myself in the casinos when I'm down in Detroit.
Casinos can get me in a little trouble, but
there's a lot of good just Detroit style pizza places. Not off the top of my mind, but I'm big on Detroit style pizza. So if you find a pizza spot, and then Tin Roof, man, I might get some flack for that, but Tin Roof is like one of my favorite spots to go to hang out in Detroit. It's literally right across from the front entrance of Comerica Park. It's like a 5-level bar. Each bar is like different live music. They've got a rooftop in the summer where you can go hang out. Even like They've got a back patio where it's like live music. It's just a really fun atmosphere. Party, like, it's crazy for Lions Tigers games, especially with the Tigers doing well. So I would say those are some good spots. I'm probably going to get some flack from Detroit people because I'm not huge into restaurants. That's probably a better question for my wife, considering she usually picks where we go. From a golf course perspective, I can't help the listeners. So where I'm from, I'm like basically halfway between Ann Arbor and Detroit is kind of where I live. So there's a course called the Cardinal where they're having the live event here. Is about 15 minutes from where I live currently, which is a newer course. It's an older piece of property that was a 27-hole course. Not the best, but it's like a hotel wedding venue type thing. And they ripped up the entire course, made it into a championship level course last year, just reopened. And Liv's coming here for their Michigan event in August here in about literally a month. I think August 22nd is when they're going to be here. Beautiful golf course, great layout, new course in the area that just opened up. And it's just like pure, like if you ever played like a new championship course, like it's really cool, really great condition. That's one that I like to play in the area that's 30-40 minutes outside of the city. Oh man, I'm trying to think where else. I play a lot towards Ann Arbor, which is probably going to be an hour outside of where you're coming from. So that's probably not the best. But let me think. Gosh, I wish I probably should have done some better research on the golf
Hey,
course front.
I can make the trip up to Ann Arbor too. So
Yeah, no. So there's a couple of good spots called Calderon Farms is in a city called Chelsea. That's about 20 minutes past me, or 30 minutes closer towards Ann Arbor. But that's a really fun spot. And that's where I play a lot. It's like a hidden gem. That's kind of not a hidden gem anymore. It's kind of one of those link style courses, is a really fun spot. And then Washtenaw Golf Club. So that's kind of my home track for this year. Shout out those guys. It's a fun, like traditional style course where everything's kind of back and forth. Like, tree lined. That's my type of course because I can spray it both ways and find my golf ball.
Open.
Yeah, Washtenaws and Ypsilanti. That's a fun spot. And then what's the other one, man? I'm trying to think. I just thought of one more. Oh, and then there's a course called Dunham Hills, which is more northwest-ish. Very good golf course. They're actually redoing it. I don't know if you're a big architecture guy, but Mike DeVries, the guy who designed Kingsley Club, Gray Walls, a couple of Michigan's premier up north golf courses, coming down to just redesign a golf course in Detroit called Dunham Hills, going to be renamed Proving Ground Golf Club, because of obviously the Motor City stuff like that. And the GM Proving Ground is actually about 2 miles from the golf course. So those are my hot spots that I play. If you guys ever come to Detroit, give me a follow on Instagram, the Scratch Golf Show. We'll play around with you and can probably provide some better course recommendations if you reach out to me on Instagram. But those are some good ones, man. We could spend a whole pod on just up north Michigan golf course. I got a million recommendations for that. That's kind of the still hidden gem up there, some Michigan golf courses up north, but those are some good ones for down here. So
well, excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate your recommendations. Hopefully when I do make it up there, we can link up and play around at least. Or if you're ever in Miami, I'm always open to play around. There's a couple of good ones here, obviously trumped around. Liv was just there a couple of months ago. I was able to meet all the creators, and it was really neat. And the course is always in tip-top shape. Any of Trump's properties are always going to be pretty solid tracks, so but more or less, I'm headed up to Chambers Bay here in about a month and a half to knock off Washington, so got Seahawks 49ers tickets and Mariners Cardinals. So that'll be a nice little fun trip for me. So that'll be state number 8. Then I got 42 more to go. So hopefully I can take one of your recommendations and when I head up to Michigan. But more or less, that's kind of all I got question-wise today. I really do appreciate you coming out. Again, if anyone out there's listening, please go ahead, subscribe to Marco's channel, The Scratch Golf Show. That's all I got. Again, thank you for coming out. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Matthew, thank you so much for having me, man. Drop Matthew a follow, drop him a sub, and hopefully you guys didn't get bored of me talking, man. Thank you so much for having me on. This was fun.
Perfect. Thank you, man.